Hello, this is Gio, and hey, look what I have here. I have an old Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. And if you're anything like me, you like to play retro games. I got a couple here, Super Mario 3, and here's some DuckTales. But I've been having some issues, and I'm going to show you what's been going on. Okay, so we're going to try to stick in some Super Mario 3 here. We open up the console, stick it in, put power on, and already out the blinking light of death. You can see nothing's really happening. Well, let's go ahead and take it out, do our little blow thing. I blew, you know what I'm doing. I'm blowing at it. Stick it in back in here, turn it back on. And again, it is blinking. Nothing is happening. Okay, so I have been having a fair amount of trouble with a number of these games. Now the first thing you want to do is just to clean off the cartridge pins themselves. You can see kind of the pins right there. And I've done a different video how to clean those. But I have cleaned Super Mario and also DuckTales, and I still generally get the same problem. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So if it's not the cartridge, well, what could it be? Well, it could potentially be the console itself. Now again, here's the pins for the game. Now these pins fit into a 72-pin connector way in back here. Let's zoom in and see if you can see it. You can kind of see a bunch of pins back there. Now those pins could either be dirty, or which is common, or most likely they're just sort of bent down. And let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so this is the 72-pin connector in an NES. This one is brand new. I picked it up a few years ago. This bottom slot here fits into the console. This top portion right here fits into the actual game cartridge. Now, if you zoom into these things, you can see the little pins right here. And these are kind of sitting up a little bit. Now, as time goes on and you keep on inserting the games, these pins can flatten down and not get in contact with the pins in the game. And that's a very common thing with these old NESs. And you unfortunately have to open up the game console to fix this, and I will show you how to do that today. Okay, so I went ahead and unplugged the system, and what you want to do first is just to flip it on its back, because we have to open this thing up. Now to start this process, there are 6 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now these things just work on a Phillips. They are Phillips screws, and so we can just take them out with a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, with them all loose, I can just kind of lift it out like that. This out of the way and just kind of like make the screws just kind of drop out. I should have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there you go. There's the inside of the NES. Okay, so with the lid removed and put aside, we have the interior exposed here. And what we do next is remove 8 total screws. So there's 2 on one side, 1, 2. 3 on this side, 1, 2, and then there's 1 down here. That's let's see, that's 5 altogether. Here's 1 down here, 6, 7, and 8. So we'll remove all those 8 screws. Oh, I forgot to mention there should be 1 more screw, so 9 screws altogether. So go ahead and remove this one as well. Okay, and with those screws out, you should just be able to remove the heat shield, which is this part right here. Just going to work it out. just like that. Put that aside. Okay, so with the heat shield removed, next we want to get rid of this this cartridge, this black cartridge platform here, and that will take 6 screws. So there's one there, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we'll remove all of that and then remove this this platform. And you'll notice there are slightly different sizes of screws here, so just pay attention which is which. Now with those screws removed, you should be able to kind of work this little platform off, lifting the base plate a little bit. Just kind of slip it out this way. Put that aside. Okay, so with that black platform removed, now you can probably slip out the entire circuit board. Now you're going to slip it out with this, there's a lower metal heat plate down here. And so you're just going to kind of lift it all up together. If you just try to lift the board itself, it may come out from the heat shield, but that's generally okay. If you flip it over, you can see how the heat shield is attached, and you could actually remove the heat shield a little bit, just like that. The only problem is you can't get it around these wires that are right here. So just kind of keep the heat shield generally in place, and it kind of clamps right here, just like that. Okay, so just by holding it like this, now you can pull out this 72 pin connector, and you just kind of hold it here and kind of just gently work it out back and forth, both sides. Try not to force it. And there you go. The 72 pin connector is off. Okay, so examining the 72 pin connector here, it looks like all the pins are there. They look reasonably clean, but I think I'm going to clean them before I try to readjust these pins. So I'll do that next. Okay, and so to do this, I'm just going to take some 91 or better isopropyl alcohol, just put it in a little bowl here, not too much. I just have the little paper towel, the blue paper towel. I cut off a little piece of cardboard. This is actually a comic backing board. So I'm kind of going to use this as a little guide. Now you don't want to use, I don't recommend you using Q-tips for this. You can use Q-tips to clean your regular games, your game cartridges, excuse me, but I don't recommend it for this purpose because the little fibers can get stuck in these little pins here. So I'm just going to dip this in just like this and just kind of use this to kind of get in there and clean these. Now the reason I'm cleaning it now is because once I bend back these pins, trying to clean them could actually bend the pins back where you don't want them. So that's why I'm doing it now. So I'm just kind of go back and forth. Be aware there's already a little piece of paper towel that's stuck in there that I have to pull out with a little pin or something. So just kind of go back and forth a little bit and clean it as best you can. Okay, now I have a little safety pin here, which I'm going to actually use to help bend those little pins back. Now if you open this up and kind of open this up just like that. Now I'm just going to bend this tip here that's kind of in line with this wire here. I'm going to just bend it in a little bit that way with some pliers here. Oops, can you see that? Just like that. I just bent it just a little bit. Maybe about a 45-degree bend, just like that. Okay, so you're either going to start, in my case I'm going to start from the left side. You could either start on the left or right, but don't start in the middle. And if you're going to start on the left side, you're going to orient the safety pin this way. If you're going to start on the right side, you're going to orient it this way. because as I bend each one of these pins up, I'm sort of applying pressure to the pins behind it. So you don't want to apply pressure to pins that you've already lifted up. Now they are kind of in a plastic groove here. So what you want to do is kind of reach back where you can actually, they're kind of forked. I'm not sure if you could tell here, but it's kind of a forked pin. So try not to grab in the middle of the fork, but rather from the bottom and then lift both pins. And just lift them maybe about a millimeter or two up, just like that. And then go ahead and do the other one in the row. Try to get behind both forks here. And just do it very gently. You don't want to break these pins. And just keep on going down the row, lifting each one maybe a millimeter or two. Now, since I don't have the best eyesight in the world, I'm actually going to use a little a magnifying glass to help me do this. Okay, I did my best bending these pins back up. Now before I install it back into the console, I'm going to take a cartridge and just sort of place this in just to kind of help set these pins in place. Just maybe bring it in and out a couple of times. Just take a look at them, make sure that they look like they're okay. And then I'm going to just reverse the process and put it all back together. Again, I want to attach these bottom pins to this connector right here. Make sure it goes in easy and carefully. All the way, and then just kind of fit this little heat plate in. Oops. Make sure it fits nice and snug. And then just kind of work in the entire board with heat shield in. You have to get around these little plugs right there. And just make sure that all the holes line up the way they're supposed to. There's a little pin right here that it kind of sits in as well. Just like that. Next we're going to put this little black platform back in. Again, we have to lift this up a little bit to kind of get it in there. And it just sits there, and then we can kind of set it back down. Make sure that it works all well and all lined up. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and put in the 6 screws to attach the black platform. Again, 2 of them are larger than the other 4, and the larger one, if I can zoom in here, the larger one's not in the corner, but the second one back on both sides. And there you go, they're in. Again, these are the longer ones. All the other screws, by the way, everything you've taken out so far, all these, are all the same type of screw. Okay, so next we're going to put back the little heat shield here. Again, try to line up the holes as best you can. There you go. And then put back not 8, but the 9 screws that hold it in place. And then last but not least, we put the lid back on the NES. And again, it just goes nice and flat, holding it securely. You flip it over, and then we put the last 6 screws back in the machine, and then we'll test her out. Okay, so we got everything hooked up. We have, let's see, we got the controller, we have audio-visual connections, and we have power. Okay, let's go ahead and stick back in our Super Mario Brothers 3 and see if it works a little bit better. So go ahead and shut the door, open the power, Oh, it looks like something's happening at least. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. And I think we have to hit the select button if I recall, or start. And there we go. Oh, very good. It looks like it is working. Very good. Well, hey, I think this helped this game out immensely. I hope this NES will work better in the future for now on with the connectors readjusted. And so I hope this video helped you out, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.